let's
quickly
go
talk
on.
about the National Sports Festival, the PTF actually confirming the postponement of the National Sports Festival. Athletes, well, we're sorry, you guys will just continue to train until January. Don't eat too much of Christmas rice, so just continue training and be ready for it in January.
That's a clear indication that something is happening and that we must take absolute precautions even as we prepare for the festivities. Over the past weeks, discussions have been held about the safety issues pertaining to the National Sports Festival, scheduled to hold in Benin, Edo State. New dates have been agreed upon early in 2021, before which measures will be put in place to minimize infections. We were quite concerned about the figure of athletes that were going to congregate in Benin, about 12,000 within the period of the festivities, with a lot of people returning home from Europe and America. And we felt there was need for absolute caution, more so that the athletes were going to stay in hostile environments.
Welcome back. Okay, let me bring you into all that we are doing this morning. You guys can talk to us on Twitter, of course, at the Champions League tonight. And there's some clubs that are trying to qualify into the round of 16. Yes, you still have more games to go, but the earlier you qualify, the better, usually.
True.
So you can tell us, I mean, what your team is going to be playing tonight, what you think they will be up to. Liverpool, of course, will be in action. Man City in action. Man City, 100% record. Bayern Munich, 100% record. They're all through. Would they just want to, like, maybe rotate players and get the best out of the game, or maybe, you know,
Yes, they
just
will.
go full throttle, want to have 100% record. So talk to us about that one. Of course, you can still share your thoughts with us on National Sport Festival postponement, still on what athletes can do to ensure that they'll be ready in January. And also the FA Cup, of course, the draw, that's what we'll be talking about quickly now. I mean, when you have 8th division side having to face Tottenham, those guys are more happier even than the Tottenham. Yes, that's what we're talking about.
Yes, that's how we're going next. The FA Cup, third round draw was done yesterday. And every time you hear that, the phrase magic of the FA Cup, this is what it means. Marine FC,
Yes.
8th tier, Northern Premier League Division 1 side. They drew Tottenham Hotspur. That's the Premier League leaders. And they're actually celebrating. They're like, whoa, Jose is coming to our stadium. And
that's the dream.
That's the dream.
Jose coming to your stadium. You're going to see Gareth Bale, if possible. You're going to see Harry Kane, Jimmy Song, and all that. These are the players who's on this. I mean,
look at
that's
that.
a celebration right there. I mean, that's what they're concerned about.
That's what they're concerned about. They don't care about qualifying.
They could lose up to 10 goals or anything. But they just want to see Jose coming to the stadium. Yeah, that's the beauty. That's the story of the FA Cup. Okay.
Bada is here.
Yeah, he's waiting to join us this morning. Of course, just talk a little bit about this one. And also the Champions League, which is the big one tonight. Bada, good morning. It's good to have you join us again on a Tuesday morning.
Hi, Cecilia. Hi, Tyler. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Always great to have you. Always great to have you. But we're talking about the FA Cup, the magic of the FA Cup. Interestingly, the biggest clash in the third round is between a side in the 8th division and the Premier League leaders.
Which is interesting,
It's the stuff of dreams. It's absolutely the stuff of dreams. These small teams hardly ever get a look in all year. But then the FA Cup offers them an opportunity to draw some of the big hitters. And then with that, all of the international attention, the game will be on TV, watched by millions. That's not something that happens to them very regularly, you know. And then all of the attention that comes, you know, on the day comes with bigger money as well, because there's TV rights money that gets paid to them. Also, you know, the place is packed to the rafters in expectation of the superstars. Of course, you never know what playing personnel will show up, but you're sure that even if it's just 5 or 6 of them that get to make the match day squad, you are, you know, in the presence of royalty, footballing royalty. And like you said, the manager is as big as they come, Jose Mourinho, with all of his, you know, the sound bites that he drops every now and then. So they would hope that he says something that draws even further attention to them in the lead-up. And who knows, when the football is played, sometimes these so-called lightweight teams, these so-called minnows, do the unthinkable in the FA Cup, and that's what the magic of the FA Cup is about. Claiming big scalps, dumping out the favorites, and if they're able to achieve that, it's even more prominence for them. It's even more attention. So you see the way they jubilate wildly year on year. These small teams, the draws are made. You think they won the Champions League. The way they just go wild. They just go wild. It's just so beautiful to see.
Beautiful to see indeed. Congratulations to Marine FC for getting Tottenham in the third round of the FA Cup. I believe January the 9th cannot come soon enough for a lot of the sides. But let's move on quickly to the English Premier League. 2 matches played last night. West Ham defeated Aston Villa, but the surprise of the night was between Fulham and Leicester City. Cecilia yesterday confidently wrote off Fulham, gave them no chance whatsoever to go into the King Power to get a win, and that's exactly what they've done.
It's the way the season has been, to be honest. There's been a lot of games that have gone totally against script. And what Fulham did yesterday was show us that we've got to be a bit more careful when we call games this season, because there's a lot of factors. Yeah, there's a lot of factors that are, militating against teams. Or results going as we think they would. Yesterday, what Fulham did, 3 things. First, they did a Leicester City on Leicester City.
Leicester, fantastic.
Second, for the first time since the start of the league this season, they defended very competently, and kudos must go to Tosin Adarabioyo, the former Manchester City defender who they brought in. He looked phenomenal. He was colossal in that central defense. He threw himself at balls shot into the box. He headed everything in sight. He cleared his line competently. Special mention must also go to Olaino, who had, in my opinion, a very, very good game down the right side. Defensively, Fulham were very, very competent. In fact, it didn't look like until Barnes scored that late goal for Leicester City. It never looked like Leicester were going to score because they shielded their goalkeeper Areola very, very well. That's not something that we've been able to say very often about Fulham this season. And then going forward, a team that has lost, I think, 4 consecutive penalties and can't seem to buy a goal. Yesterday seemed really, really, really solid. Their first goal was superb. Ademola Lookman getting on the end of an Inguiza pass and just slipping it beyond Kasper Schmeichel. And then the second one was a penalty. And everyone was waiting with bated breath and thinking, will they lose it again? And then Caballero stepped forward and just firmly blasted into the corner of the net. So Fulham, those 3 things: counter-attacking football, attacking competently, and defending competently.
Great defense.
They did all 3 very well yesterday. Yeah, and they deserved their 3 points. They were the better team. Leicester, following from their 3-0 loss to Liverpool, just didn't look like their normal self.
They weren't at the races.
Even though they were, even though they were playing at home, they just didn't get going. Every time they lost the ball, they always looked like they were going to concede. And Ademola Lookman, Olaino, Adarabioyo, all of those guys with Nigerian connections and Nigerian heritage played very, very well yesterday, and Fulham were deserved winners.
Deserved winners indeed.
But credit must be given to Kelechi Iheanacho too. I mean, when he came on, he was almost like the player that was likely to score for Leicester City. It was looking like he was just the one. He brought a little bit of energy into the team.
Come on, Cecilia.
Towards the end of the game. But let's leave the Leicester and the Fulham, of course. Eating the humble pie this morning.
Just do that.
I'm doing that. Okay. Now, the story of the second game happens to be the VAR, the offside rule. How do you solve that? I mean, me and I was discussing with Tayo before we get on set about the thicker line or the thin line. Was it the hand, of a particular player that was offside and everything? He didn't have a good game. He missed a penalty, of course. Then he scored a goal and VAR ruled it out. That was after you had the Ogbonna and, of course, Jack Grealish starting, on goals for both sides.
Well, that's the blessing and the curse of the VAR. So the average West Ham fan, VAR did very, very well on
awesome.
When it works in your favor, oh, VAR is the best thing to ever happen to the world. But
Yes.
when it denies you a point in the way that it did Aston Villa yesterday, you are cursing your luck. You are wanting it to be scrapped. And it can be very painful. You know, you're talking about very marginal decisions here.
Very.
The airline, you know, the club badge, getting into an offside position,
Toenail,
the armpits, yeah, all of these things, bordering on the downright ridiculous sometimes. And like I said, it happens at the end of the game when you thought, oh, Oli Watkins had snatched a draw for Aston Villa, and then they reviewed it and said it was offside. It can be very painful, and that's what these games have come down to: marginal decisions determined by VAR, and sometimes you're not even clear what they are seeing because you're looking at it and you're like,
you're not seeing the same thing.
Exactly, that doesn't look offside. And so what that tells you is that sometimes these things are even subject to the interpretation of the guys who are manning, this equipment. So it's not like the goal line technology where the technology makes the decision. Once the watch beeps goal, it has crossed the line.
True.
Yeah. In this case, you have those lines drawn, and the guys who are looking at them are still, the ones who will subject all of that to analysis. And sometimes what they analyze just totally doesn't conform with what your eyes are seeing.
Mind-boggling.
Absolutely. So, but overall, I thought that West Ham maybe deserved the 3 points over the course of 90 minutes and on the balance of play. West Ham have started the league in the way that most pundits could never have predicted. True. Especially when David Moyes was out due to coronavirus. I think in that time, they actually won all the games they played in his absence. Even went to the Etihad and drew 1-1 with Man City. And they have just been very, very good this season. They've got options going forward. Jared Bowen has been fantastic. He scored again yesterday. Look at Obona. Looks very, very solid. Going forward is always a threat. Scored from a set piece again yesterday. And overall, they just look a more balanced team, a team that even the best sides will have to work very, very hard to beat. And that's why they may not be enmeshed or immersed in another relegation, survival battle this year. If they keep going this way, I mean, look at it. There's been 10 games played, and they are sitting, I think, in the top 5 now.
Fifth.
In the top 5 now. Yeah. So incredible start to the season they've made. But Aston Villa themselves, who barely survived relegation last season, have started really well, it must be said, even though they've lost their last 2 games. So you look at the table and you still see some unfamiliar names in the top 10. And you wonder if it's going to continue like that, or if the big guys who now find themselves in the bottom, 10, City and Arsenal particularly, if they will get their acts together and come back to take what people expect will be their normal positions. But at the moment in time, I think both West Ham and Aston Villa fans can be very, very proud of what their teams have achieved so far.
Absolutely, spot on. And I think it's going to be a crazy season. And but let's leave the Premier League for now. Let's go to the UEFA Champions League match day 5 later tonight. Let's just run through the fixtures before we get the thoughts of Bada. Matches in Group A, you have Lokomotiv taking on Salzburg, Atletico Madrid versus Bayern Munich. Bayern already through to the round of 16 as group winners. Atletico will go through if they beat Bayern, and Lokomotiv don't beat Salzburg later today. In Group B, you have Shakhtar versus Real Madrid, Borussia Mönchengladbach versus Inter Milan. Real Madrid will advance if they beat Shakhtar. Shakhtar will be unable to reach the round of 16 if they lose to Real Madrid. For Inter Milan, they have to win this game. If they don't win it, they're out of the competition. Group C, Porto versus Man City. Marseille versus Olympiacos. City already through to the round of 16. In Group D, last but not the least, Atalanta versus Michelin. Michelin already are condemned to the 4th position in that group, while Liverpool will take on Ajax. And that's what we're going to start from. But Liverpool versus Ajax. Liverpool need to win this game or just to avoid defeat to advance into the round of 16. How do you see this one playing out, considering on the back of what happened to Liverpool over the weekend, drawing, and the continuous injury issues they've had to deal with?
Well, I think that the most concerning thing for Liverpool was their last showing in this competition against Atalanta, where they lost 2-0 at home. The first time they had lost in regulation time in a very long time at home. And that, made a lot of their biggest supporters doubt, their title credentials for this season, especially in the UEFA Champions League, because that game wasn't a lucky win for Atalanta. Atalanta fully deserved their victory. As a matter of fact, the Liverpool Echo, which is one of the biggest publications out of Liverpool, described Liverpool's attack as insipid, tired, and bang out of ideas. It was a scathing assessment of Jurgen Klopp's team, a team that, more often than not, is playing out of the skin. But because of injuries, suspensions, Jurgen Klopp's team hasn't just got going, even though Diogo Jota has been scoring the goals. Defensively, they've not been able to keep it together. And you look at that Ajax team, they're always fluid, they're always fluent, they always like to keep possession, and they always pack a threat going forward. So Jurgen Klopp and his team know they have their work cut out. But the good thing is they don't have to win this game to progress. They can play a draw and still qualify. So they own Ajax to go and chase the game. And that in itself can play into the hands of Liverpool. Know that Atalanta and Ajax, I think, are tied on points. Atalanta have the easier game. If Atalanta wins and Ajax don't, Atalanta and Liverpool will most likely go through. So Ajax will have to go chase the game, and that can play into Liverpool's hands to just hit them on the counter and use the pace of the likes of Diogo Jota, Mane, Salah, and all those guys, to just go and destroy them.
All right, that's him right there. He doesn't have enough. Well, hopefully the shuttling will ease, but it's not looking like that. So just forget about it and just make do with the players that you have. Now, let's quickly talk about the big one. I mean, tired feeling that, okay, Man City and Porto, it's not really a big game because City already through to the round of 16.
Let's talk about Group B.
Let's talk about Group B, which is really dicey right now. Shakhtar Donetsk and Real Madrid will be in action. But for Real Madrid, I mean, Hazard is injured again for the 9th time, right? I mean, how many goals and assists this season? Since he left for Real Madrid, I think 7 goals. And
he's not been a good.
He's not been a good one.
One for Hazard.
So because of that, I mean, Zinedine Zidane is trying to see which players will be able to fit into this game with the injury worries he's having, and also the loss at the weekend at home. How will they fare tonight against Shakhtar Donetsk?
I think some of the most shocking Real Madrid performances I have ever witnessed, I have seen this season. Since the beginning of it's incredible, really. I watched the game against Deportivo Alaves over the weekend. And they were just absolutely shocking. They just didn't get going. They didn't look like they were ever going to win that game. And it had all manner of, resemblance of how they started this Champions League season when they lost 3-2 at home to Shakhtar Donetsk, followed it up with a last gasp draw against Mönchengladbach. And, even though they've rallied since then, and I think they have 7 points now, they just don't look like the normal Real Madrid. And today, they know they are condemned to win. They must beat Shakhtar, a team that beat them at home. But Shakhtar haven't exactly been good since then. In fact, they were hammered by a combined score of, I think, about 8 or 9 by Mönchengladbach over the two tie. So the minimum expectation is for Zidane and his men to travel to Ukraine and beat Shakhtar. However they do it, even with all of the slate of injuries that they have, is of no concern to the average Madrid fan. This is a team that in 4 seasons has won 3 Champions League trophies and still has all of those experienced campaigners, all of those world-class talent at their disposal. So they've got their work cut out. They've got to win this game, even though a draw might not put them out of contention still, because Mönchengladbach looks to me like that they're going to take the group. Inter Milan is almost dead and buried. I don't think Inter will beat. I don't think they will beat Mönchengladbach. So even with a draw, Real Madrid will still be alive. But as I said, all Madrid stars will be hoping that Real would go, or not hoping now, expecting that Real will go away and give them some compensation for the very, very lackluster performance over the weekend and the super lackluster games they played against Shakhtar earlier in the season, which they lost at home, and Mönchengladbach, which they almost lost at home. So redemption will look in the form of a victory in this game, and of course in the final game of the league phase, another victory against Mönchengladbach. This for me, going forward, is probably one of the two finals that Real Madrid will have to win to progress from this group.
All right, Bada Akintunde Johnson, thank you so much for taking our time again to join us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we need to go on the short break now. We'll come out. We're talking about the female referee that will be officiating tonight.
Pep Guardiola speaking ahead of tonight's match against FC Porto. Of course, City are already through to the round of 16, and they can confirm themselves as group winners if they avoid defeat tonight against Porto. Porto, of course, has a Nigerian. Zaidu Sanusi will be looking forward to seeing him play in that game. A bit of history to talk about before we look at the papers.
Yeah, before talking about that history, just breaking from BBC Sport is, well, world champion, talking about Lewis Hamilton. He has been nominated for BBC Sports Personality of the Year, expectedly. Okay.
That's not a big deal. Come on. Come on. Why did you have to take that?
Just because we started with the story that he tested positive for coronavirus, so we need to end with another one. Award on the line. So right, that's it. Okay, yeah, talking about the history making. I mean, she was, the last time, there was a watch, okay, she was going to be at the FIFA World Cup, and then the UEFA Super Cup final between Liverpool and Chelsea last October. Yep. And they were talking about Stephanie Frappant, who is making history right now. She will become the first woman to referee a men's Champions League match on Wednesday. That's Juventus and Dynamo Kyiv in Turin. So UEFA has confirmed this. She's 36. She already made history as the first one to referee in the French top flight. She's the only one right now. She's just right there.
Yeah, because she's very good.
Others, others that can, step up and they just spread across.
They just need to be inspired by what this woman is doing. That's it. They can look up to her and say, okay, yeah, she's gotten to the very top of football officiating in the world. Why can't I not do it? They've got to earn it. Nothing is going to be gifted to anyone.
To them.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah. But she's just such an inspiration that on Wednesday night we'll be seeing her in Turin officiating in Juventus and that game. Okay. Time to take a look at the papers now.
Yeah, surely.
Our complete sports here, I'm starting with this one. Okocha, how Eagles can be super again. Says team needs natural offensive midfielders to succeed. Yes, I think...
Natural what?
Offensive midfielders to succeed. Okay. Natural, not the one that you convert. Maybe you convert like a DM, a center back midfielder.
So what is it saying that we need? That's what we need?
That's what we need. Yes, the team actually need natural offensive midfielders to succeed.
We don't have that now.
How many midfielders get it raw anytime you see the team? It's usually 3, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's issues definitely in that department.
Because if you talk about Ogenekare Tebo, it doesn't qualify as offensive midfielder. It's more like a defensive midfielder.
You can go box to box.
It can be ball very energetic. It's more like protecting the back foot. More of it. But you need someone like Jack Grealish, for instance.
Yeah, we don't have that right now.
That's my point. So you don't have players like that right now. So Kenneth Rowe, he's been scouting. He's been doing a good job scouting. So he needs to do more, scout more. Look at this position. Yes, because our midfield right now, we don't even have one. 3 midfielders most times when you have like 9 defenders. Maybe 7 forwards. They have just 3 midfielders.
Aribo, Ndidi, and Ogenekaro. So lightweight.
So it's very light. So that's the thing. So you said you need the natural players, not the ones you have to make them play that position. Alexi will be yet. You can. Yeah, okay. In between.
For me,
more like a winger or forward. Okay.
Yeah, so the bottom line is that's a problem position for the Super Eagles right now.
Because when you have that, the defenders won't have to suffer so much. And of course, the goalkeeper won't be shipping in. Conceding 4 goals. Yeah.
All right, then.
That's the story right there. Okay, Amaju Pinnick, Eagles display versus Sierra Leone is a blessing in disguise. Okay, NFF president says Nigerians won't underrate fools in 2022 World Cup qualifiers he ruled out Tether bid for NFL presidency. It doesn't happen in Nigeria. Don't worry, we know there's no point. In C Super Eagles hold AFCON 2022 qualification tickets in their hands. So this is actually his birthday, so maybe birthday shout out to him.
Who's that?
Amaji Penny, NFL president. Okay. What do we have again here? Ian and just subbed on for 80th time in 121 games. Who is skipping these stats? Okay.
Yeah, the stats keep us. Yeah, let's go to Sporting Life quickly. Osimhen's injury worries Gattuso. Gattuso describes Nigerian as an important player. Of course, he is, but they're doing just fine without Osimhen. At the moment, they defeated Roma convincingly over the weekend. What else? Tyson Fury is talking. He says, Joshua would be my easiest opponent ever. Wow. Big Tyson, Big Mac Tyson talking tough there ahead of what is likely to be the undisputed World Heavyweight Championship bout between AJ and Tyson Fury. La Liga chief wants Jurgen Klopp and Mourinho in Spain. Interesting. Inter Milan planning for Olivier Giroud. Manchester United versus PSG. Neymar, we will play our best game. Of course, you have to if you want to qualify.
That's
go to the last paper.
Sporting Sun is the last one this morning. Lookman fires Fulham out of relegation zone. Yes, they've got 7 points.
17th on the log now.
Yeah, which is good. Gattuso, we miss Osimhen. This is making headlines. Of course, but they've been winning and all that. But Osimhen is a key figure. Okoye impresses in Rotterdam. Last year we saw that reflexes.
I saw highlights of that game and it was super impressive. Saved the penalty, but unfortunately I couldn't stop the rebound as well. I'm a big fan of Okoye and I think he's got a great upside.
It's just 21.
21, so, and he has all the tools. I mean, it's very tall, it's big, it's got great reflexes. You'll get better with experience. That's we all know that. Atletico Madrid seeks revenge against Bayern Munich.
Okay. Well, let me just quickly take 2 tweets before we leave the studio. Sure. Boston says the inclusion of Frappant in the UCL is a giant stride for women in the game of football. Just hope she lives up to the billing. Yeah, she's been doing that. And of course, Noble Flyer says Fulham looked solid from defense to attack yesterday. I guess Leicester underrated them. Hence the shock result. I hope Ghana is taking note of Olaino's strength. More shocking result to follow this weekend. Okay. All right. Thank you guys for watching. We have to leave the studio now.
I'm
Cecilia Omogbe.
I'm Tari Salam. Enjoy the rest of your day.